We now return to Illinois Rising, presented by the Illinois Policy Institute, the radio show discussing the honest truth about Illinois policy and politics. Here's AM 560's Dan Proft.
Dan Proft back with Pat Hughes on this edition of Illinois Rising. And Pat, you have the same problem that State Representative Robert Martwick has. You get so many streams of income that sometimes it's hard to keep track of them all. And then you got to file forms if you're a state representative who's leveraging his office to create additional streams of revenue, as Martwick has done. Martwick is a property tax appeals attorney, so he enjoys the same conflict of interest that House Speaker Mike Madigan does, as writing property tax law that he turns around and benefits financially from. But Sun-Times story this week, he failed to disclose $170,000 in income from his political consulting business. So you got a state rep who's writes property tax law, who's a property tax appeals attorney. He's a elected official and a politician who's also a political consultant. It's interesting. This was an investigation the Sun-Times did, as I mentioned. Illinois politicians have paid Martwick $673,000 for his consulting business since 2005, but he failed to list $170,000 in income over a 2-year period after he took office in 2013. Because the financial disclosure form that legislators have to file with respect to their financial interests, it's too complicated.
Look, Dan, the reason why this story is so important is because everyone can relate to it, right? I mean, how many times have you failed to report $170,000 in income? It happens to everybody. I mean, every person.
It's chump change.
It's nothing, right? I've got that money under my bed. Look, this is the reason why this story is so powerful is it shows obviously the bad behavior, but it's more than the bad behavior. It's the mentality. It's this concept that this guy has, that he can have his hands in all these little pots and he can use government to influence line his pockets and influence people around him to pay him more money. And then at the very end, after he's done that and taken all the money, well, I'm just not going to report a huge chunk of it. So it's a perfect example of the bad behavior and the bad mentality of these people.
Counselor, you're assuming facts, not an evidence, that he willfully did not report the income. It could, in fact, be that he's a moron. So you have to allow for that, because I filed statement of economic interest forms with the state before, both as a candidate, as a state employee. And there's a question on there that basically says, list any interest you have greater than $5,000 in any business enterprise. And so I did, because it's very straightforward. So if you can't understand that, but we are placing enough confidence in you to be a state legislator to weigh in on the range of matters affecting the quality of life in Illinois, it may just be the fact that he does not have the requisite capacity to be a state legislator.
Are you saying, like, when we were kids and in school and you had like the alligator mouth that opened one way or the other, like which one is greater than the other, that he doesn't understand that he
doesn't know that 170 is greater than 5? He
doesn't know that. He's got the alligator mouth going in the wrong direction.
I'm saying that's possible. It's possible that it was willful. And it's possible he doesn't know which number is bigger, 170 or 5.
I'm betting on willful.
I don't know. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Amy Kessam. Turns out that Bob Martwick has an actual challenger for his legislative seat this cycle. That's unusual on the northwest side of Chicago. She is a Chicago police officer, 18-year veteran of the Chicago Police Department. She called out Martwick on this issue. She is Amy Kessam. She joins us now. Amy, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for talking with me about this issue.
So maybe you can help adjudicate this disagreement Pat and I have, whether Martwick did this failure to disclose intentionally, or he doesn't know that $170,000 is greater than $5,000 and thus necessitated disclosure.
Yeah. Well, you know what? To be honest with you, Dan, it goes to prove the type of elitist mentality that this career politician has. He's out of touch with the general public. And this is the type of thing that causes people to not trust our politicians, to not trust our government officials. When you have this mentality that, oh, it's no big deal, and you as a state rep, you say that this isn't a conflict of interest, which he said on public radio. There was a caller that called in and asked him outright about whether he thought this was a conflict of interest. And he clearly said, no, it's not a conflict of interest. Now, as an attorney, that's very scary. I mean, I would think at the very least, you would have a fiduciary responsibility to even disclose to your clients that you're getting money from the very politicians that are in charge of assessing your properties, and you're representing them, and don't you think that he should disclose that?
And if the form is too complicated for him to fill out, then I would like to audit his bar exam as well.
Very good point. Very good point. And it makes me question, because he did say that he did disclose it in 2016, I believe he said, and I'm curious to know how much these politicians paid him in that year. You know, I don't even think we know the answer to that question.
So, Amy,
and I think the general public should.
Amy, a politician who's either too feckless or too stupid to either intentionally or unintentionally not put $170,000 of income on a disclosure, that can't be the only problem with his representation of your district. That can't be the only problem with his personality or his ability to do his job correctly. Tell the listeners, in addition to this dust up of either intentional fraud or stupidity, what else this guy has done that should be known.
Well, I mean, just this issue alone, he didn't even get a state or a city license to for his business to have his business up and running.
I forgot he had it.
Again, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was saying he forgot he had his business. That's how he forgot the income, which is how he forgot to apply for the business license, which is how he forgot to file the disclosure form. She's forgetful.
I can't imagine forgetting about $170,000 that I was paid. I can't.
He and his dad are on the phone all day with Cook County Assessor Joe Barrios to lower the property taxes for the politically connected, so people like you and other families on the Northwest Side pay more to make up for the difference that per the relief that the politically connected get. So he can't be worried every minute about $170,000 that's coming in from some firm that he forgot he set up from some politicians that he knows.
Yeah, that's it proves how out of touch he is with his constituents. I mean, that's just it's ludicrous.
What now?
If I were to do something like this, I would get into a lot of trouble with my current position with the police department. I would get into a lot of trouble. So I think he should be held to the same standard. Yeah,
I mean, actually filing a false or incomplete statement of economic interest actually is punishable as a misdemeanor, potentially. I mean, that won't happen because we don't have the rule of law in this state, but I mean, theoretically it could. Here's a question, though, Amy. Martwick recently, as he's doing quite well in this climate per his sinecure that his dad arranged for him, other people doing less well, and wasn't he one of the yes votes on the recently passed budget that included massive tax increases and no spending reforms?
Yeah, he absolutely was. And that's one of the things as I'm out here and I'm talking with the people in this district, they're very upset about this. They're very angry about this. But, when you look at it from a financial standpoint, the amount of money that people are paying to Robert Martwick, that might not seem like a whole heck of a lot of money when you look at how much money he's bringing in through these other business ventures that he has. But to the average family in this district, it's a heck of a lot of money, and people are already struggling. I mean, we live in an area that has some of the highest taxes, highest sales taxes, now income taxes, these silly, bag taxes. I mean, people are upset, and they're tired of it. And hopefully, when they end up going into that voting booth, they're going to vote according to, to help try and fix this, and hopefully they'll vote for me, and I'll get their support.
Hey, Amy, what are you doing to reach out? You mentioned you're walking with folks. How's that going? Take us through your campaign structure. What are you trying to accomplish to get the message out, and how are you doing it?
So basically, I'm out there knocking on doors. My mom and I actually went to a block party. We spoke with a bunch of people at the block party, and I was a little bit nervous, I have to tell you, but it was an overwhelming amount of support that I received. Like I said, people are really upset, and I'm used to hearing, oh, well, if you're going to run on a GOP ticket, I don't think you stand a chance. Well, you know what? Things are changing around here, and people are no longer afraid to say that they are a conservative. And, when you have people like Robert Martwick who are meandering to the 1% liberal agenda, he's going to find himself in a world of hurt when election time comes around, because the people in our area, they are more conservative. I mean, these people have lived here for generations, and he's not taking that into account, and he's forgetting about those people and meandering to, he said it the other day, wow, we have a lot of people coming in from the Logan Square area, and, well, you know what, that's really not the majority of the people in the 19th district. These are people that have raised their families here for generations, and I think that he owes it to them to listen to them and not meandering to the left.
All right. She is Amy Kessam. She's an 18-year veteran Chicago police officer. She's running as a Republican candidate for state representative against Bob Martwick on the northwest side of the city. Will be a race to watch. Amy, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for talking with me, Dan. Appreciate it.